Welcome back to my Italian lessons. Ben ritrovati per il mio corso di italiano. Welcome back to my Italian course. So today we're going to go on talking about the Italian verb conjugation. In my last lesson, it was lesson number 11, lezione numero 11, number 11, okay, we talked about the first conjugation of the Italian verbs. Well, I remind you that there are three patterns, okay, three conjugations, tre coniugazioni of Italian verbs, di verbi italiani. These three patterns depend on the suffix, the last part of the verb in the infinitive form. Okay, if the verb ends in are with the suffix are, this is the first conjugation, first pattern, and we talked about that in my lesson number 11, lezione 11. If the verb, the infinitive, okay, ends up with ERE, E-R-E, this is the second pattern, second conjugation, seconda coniugazione, and today here in my lesson number 12, lezione numero 12, we're going to talk about this. And then if the verb, okay, ends up with the suffix, with the final part, ire, okay, this is the third pattern, the third conjugation, la third coniugazione, and we're going to talk about that in my next lesson, which will be lesson 13, lezione 13. So, are, ere, ire, the three conjugations. Okay, so the final part, the three final letters of the infinitive form of our verbs determine actually the conjugation, so the pattern of the conjugation. Okay, only three of them, with many irregular verbs anyway. So last time we talked about the conjugation of verbs that ended up in are, okay, and some irregular verbs. Today we are going to talk about ERE, so the seconda conjugation, coniugazione. Let's start with the regolare, with the regular conjugation. Okay, coniugazione regolare, regular. I picked a verb which is very common. It's the verb scrivere, which is to write. As always, I always talk about pronunciation just a little bit. Pay attention to the R, okay, which is R, okay, scrivere. By the way, this conjugation concern both verbs which have a stress, okay, a stress on the E in ere, and other verbs which have a stress before. Like in this case we have a stress before scrivere, the stress is on the E, okay? In other cases like I don't know, volere, okay, volere, the stress is on the final part, ere, volere, on the E. Now, in Latin, okay, in the Latin grammar, there was a very big difference between these two conjugations. Both verbs, both groups of verbs ended with ere, but if this final e was stressed and we had one conjugation, if it wasn't, we had another conjugation. In Italian, they belong to the same conjugation, doesn't matter if this final part is stressed or not. There are some differences, we'll see them later, okay, in other lessons because they are more sophisticated, okay, and they concern irregular verbs. But basically, if you studied Latin and you're asking yourself this question, then don't worry, because in both cases in Italian we have just one conjugation with ere. Doesn't matter if it is stressed or not. Okay, so the verb to write, scrivere. Regular conjugation, very easy. You can see here in red, okay, the final part of the conjugation. The part in black is obviously the root of the verb, and it never changes in regular verbs, obviously. I write, io scrivo, tu scrivi, egli scrive, noi scriviamo, voi scrivete, essi scrivono. Okay? So the final parts you have to learn are o, I, e, iamo, ete, ono. Okay? Io scrivo, I write, tu scrivi, you write, egli scrive, he writes, okay, then obviously it's the same also for a feminine pronoun. Noi scriviamo, okay, remember this I here, because foreign people often forget about that. You write, voi scrivete, essi scrivono. Io scrivo una lettera. I write a letter. Ok? Io scrivo una email. I write an email. Okay? Now, these two verbs here are two auxiliary verbs. Avere, to have, and essere, to be. Now, we have already talked about them, both of them, in my lesson number 3, so at the very beginning of this course, okay? But now I want to mention that for those who aren't following the old course, but are maybe just opening this lesson and they maybe don't know or remember them. Because actually they both end up with ERE, but they are completely irregular, completely, as most auxiliary verbs in any language actually. So let's start with the verb avere, which is to have, okay? Io ho, tu hai, egli ha, noi abbiamo, voi avete, essi hanno. Remember the H. It isn't pronounced in Italian, not in this case, okay? There are many phonetic rules, and we talked about that in my lesson about phonetics, okay? There are situations in which the H is pronounced and it has a very strong effect on the pronunciation. But in this case, we don't actually pronounce the H, but it is very important that you remember to put it, because if you don't, the word changes completely, okay? O without H means or. I without H means to the. A without H means to again, but in another situation, okay? Anno without H means year. So they are completely different words if you don't put the H. Remember to put the H, absolutely. This is a very, very serious mistake if you don't do that. The only two persons that don't have an H are first and second plural, okay? Then again, the verb to be, essere. Io sono, tu sei, egli è. Noi siamo, voi siete, essi sono. Well, in this case, you have to pay attention to the accent, okay, for the third person singular, okay? Also in this case, if you don't put the accent, it means something different, because this e without accent means and. So this is completely different, okay? It's just another word. It's not a verb anymore, okay? This is the verb to be, okay? Both of them are irregular, as most auxiliary verbs, as I told you before, and you can go back to lesson number 3 to, well, I explain them a little bit better, and I also make some examples and sentences, and so you can get used to them and to using them in proper sentences. Then, talking about irregular verbs, alright, there are so many in Italian. I already said that when we talked about the first conjugation, are. Well, there are really many irregular verbs. Now, this is not the place and the moment to give you hundreds of irregular verbs. It's not the moment, okay? You are just beginning, but there are a few that are very, very common, and you really have to know them and to be able also to recognize them. These two verbs here are modal verbs in Italian, okay? So you know that modal verbs are verbs that are followed by the infinitive, in English without to, of another verb, okay? Like can, may, must, should, and all of them, okay? Now, the first one, potere, means both can and may, because it means be able to, okay, being able to do something, as in can, I can speak English, okay, I can go. It also means may as a possibility, okay, it may happen, okay, it means both things, okay. Now, the conjugation is completely irregular, as you may see here. Io posso, tu puoi, egli può, with accent, just here. Noi possiamo, voi potete, essi possono. This is really, 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 really irregular, I know. Well, the only one which has an accent is the third person singular, as in the verb to be, okay, verb essere. In some cases you have the U sound, okay, but only two of them, so the second and the third person singular. In the other, in three other persons, the first person singular, the first person plural, and the third person plural, you have a double S. And you remember that, we talked about that a lot. I know that you already know that, because we have really repeated that a lot of times. When I have a double consonant, I have to pronounce a longer consonant, okay? So when you see a double consonant, you have to keep that sound a little bit long, well, quite longer than a normal consonant, almost twice as long, okay, as a single consonant, okay. It is stronger, obviously, the sound is stronger, but especially it is longer. Like in this case, essi, we have it in the pronoun and the verb, essi possono. It's not essi possono, okay, essi possono. You can hear that my sound lasts almost twice as long as a single consonant. Obviously it's also stronger, but especially it's longer, okay. This is the verb potere, okay. I can go, io posso andare. Andare is a verb you already know from my lesson number 11, you remember that. Tu puoi andare, okay. Egli può scrivere. He can write. And how you can imagine all the examples you want. Then the verb volere. Volere is the verb to want something. Why is it a modal verb in Italian? Because it isn't in English. I want to go, okay, it's not a modal verb. It's a verb, want, to want, and after that we've got another verb at the infinitive form with to. So it is not modal. It isn't I want go, it is I want to go. While in Italian it is a modal verb, okay. There is the verb volere, and immediately after that I've got the infinitive form, and it is a modal verb, and it means want. Obviously, it can be followed by a verb, but it can also be followed by an object, okay? Io voglio, okay, una tazza di caffè, cup of coffee. I can't say that. This isn't polite at all because voglio is quite strong. I want a cup of coffee. This isn't polite, absolutely. So it's not something we usually say. It isn't kind, but anyway, it exists. Okay, so it can be followed by a verb or it can be followed by an object, but please try not to use that, or at least try to say per favore, please. Okay, let's see the conjugation of the verb volere. Io voglio, tu vuoi, egli vuole. Noi vogliamo, voi volete, essi vogliono. In many cases here, many persons, and especially the first person singular, first person plural, and second person plural, you can see that there are similarities between these persons specifically. We have this very special sound GLI, well, in English, GLI in Italian, which is pronounced gli. Also in this case, we talked about that absolutely in details, okay, in my lesson about phonetics, so how to pronounce it when you find it, and how you can deal with this special Italian sound. Just a little resume, okay, in this case when you have GLI, so GLE, you pronounce it like this, In order to pronounce that, you have to put your tongue, especially the back side of your tongue, okay, back in your throat and high, okay, almost touching, okay, the upper side of your mouth, and you let the air blow between your back teeth, okay. Sometimes you can feel some bubbles coming up, okay. Well, it's fine. It means you're doing it in the right way, but well, try to avoid it, maybe in public. Okay, so this is the sound we can find in these three persons: the first singular, first plural, and third plural. Then, as in potere, you may see this U sound that appears in the second and third singular, okay, so remember that this U sound that comes up, okay. Noi vogliamo andare al mare. We want to go to the sea, to the seaside, okay, mare. All right. Last one for today, okay, it's the verb sapere. Sapere is a very interesting verb actually, because I know it's irregular, but it is very common because it means two different things, and both of them very, very common. So first one is to know, okay, io so qualcosa, I know something. All right, I know. The second meaning is very important. It means being able to do something. We already mentioned this opportunity with the verb potere, because we said that it may have the same meaning as can. But actually, in Italian, can, in that specific meaning of being able to do something, in Italian, isn't translated so often with this verb here, potere. It is much more commonly translated with this other verb here, sapere. If I want to say that I can speak a language, for example, I would say io so l'inglese, io so l'italiano, I can speak English or Italian, okay? I can swim, io so nuotare, okay? I don't know, I can ride a horse, okay? Io so cavalcare, okay? So this means being able to do something. and it also means I know something, okay? It means both things. So it is very, 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 very common and very regular. So, io so, tu sai, egli sa, noi sappiamo, voi sapete, essi sanno. You can see that this is completely wild, so it is absolutely it is absolutely irregular. Just try to remember that, try to pay attention, be careful to two very common mistakes that foreign people tend to make. The first one is that egli sa, S-A, it doesn't have an accent or an apostrophe or anything, okay? There are cases when it happens, but this is not the case, so don't put anything there. And the P sound that, disappears and then appears again, it is a double P in the first person plural and then a single P in the second person plural, so the pronunciation is also different. Noi sappiamo, it's not noi sappiamo, but noi sappiamo. In the second case, voi sapete. You can hear the difference. In the first case, it's longer. In the second case, it's shorter. With the P consonant, it's not so easy, okay? But you anyway have to emphasize the fact that it is a double consonant, okay? Sai l'italiano? Can you speak Italian? Sai l'italiano? Yes, I know it a bit. See? So, io so, or just so, un po', a bit of Italian. Remember, I always repeat that in Italian you can just, or better, the subject can be implicit, okay? So you can eliminate, we can say so, the subject while writing or talking. It doesn't mean that the subject isn't there, because it is, obviously, it is there, it exists, it's just implicit, so you don't have to express it all the times. Well, I can say that you don't express it most of the times. You just have to write it when you have two verbs, okay, or two persons or two tenses, okay, that can be confused with each other, and so in that case you put that person to to make it more clear, okay, but in other cases you just don't put it. Well, that's all for today. Okay, this is the second conjugation of the Italian verbs. Now I move away from my whiteboard so you can eventually have a screenshot or whatever. You can see all the scheme together and write down if you want notes or anything. I'm back. And I will be back again very soon with my following lesson number 13, lezione numero 13, and we'll see the third pattern, so the last conjugation of Italian verbs, I verbi in ire, okay, ire, okay, which are basically the last group. So thank you so much, grazie mille for following me, for watching. Buono studio, so have a great time studying Italian and see you again very, very soon. Ci rivediamo molto, molto presto. Grazie, ciao!